Amazing revelation. What I discovered on camera about her and his son changes everything. The attic was dimly lit, filled with cobwebs and the musty smell of forgotten memories. Sarah watched as Jake rummaged through the boxes, his athletic frame bending awkwardly over old furniture that had long been covered with dust. She was acutely aware of the weight bearing down on her shoulders, the burdens of being a single mother and a dedicated nurse, every grueling shift leaving her just short of exhaustion. The hospital always needed more, and Jake's ambition loomed like a shadow over their modest house, a constant reminder that their lives could change. Yet here they were, trapped in the confines of their relationship with time, neither going backward nor forward. "Mom, look at this!" Jake's voice broke the silence, filled with excitement. He emerged from the depths of an old trunk, holding a dusty journal with frayed edges. Her heart raced. The journal belonged to her father, a man she had not spoken to in years. It was as if the universe was conspiring to force her to confront the past she had buried so deep. The society she lived in often looked down on her, whispering judgments about her single motherhood, but her sole focus had always been supporting Jake. This was his moment. As Jake meticulously skimmed through the pages, Sarah felt her breath catch, uncomfortable in her own skin. A hidden medical practice, a legacy she had always been forced to reject, now staring at them with dark intensity. Would he want to claim it? Could she even let him? Her heart raced at the thought of her dad's disappointment, a gaping wound that had yet to heal. The memories of their estrangement clawed at her, a surgeon who valued status over family. And now, an opportunity dangled before Jake like a golden ticket. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days unfolded, the tension mounted. Jake received an offer to present at a prestigious medical school, contingent upon his collaboration with Sarah's father, the very man who had forged her path of solitude. The impending presentation became an echo in her mind, a reminder of the chasm that separated their family, a chasm Jake might now wish to bridge. Determination mixed with desperation as thoughts spiraled. What if he lost himself in this world of surgeons and accolades? Would he see her as just the single mother she feared society painted her as? The day arrived. Sarah hovered in the shadows, a steady pulse of anxiety coursing through her veins. Jake stood before the crowd, ready to face his grandfather for the first time. Tension crackled in the air as he summarized the journal's findings. Each word seemed laden with a weight that threatened to crush her spirit. The past loomed, tempting them with its legacy, while she rooted for a future built on their sacrifices. And then it happened. A revelation, shocking both her and Jake, echoed through the audience. This confrontation would expose not just her father's hidden past, but her own unshed feelings of betrayal, anger, and fear. Jake's voice quivered but steadied, as he bravely confronted the man who had cast a shadow on her life. In that moment, Sarah felt summers of resentment and anguish rise up within her. Was she ready to reclaim a part of her family's honor, or would this attempt to bridge the gap shatter everything they had worked for? The two of them stood at a precipice, choices hanging in the balance, the silence stretching thin as unresolved emotions swirled like a storm ready to break. The weight of the moment felt unbearable, a tightness gripping Sarah's chest as she watched Jake speak. The crowd was a blur, their faces distorted by the haze of her memories and fears. Could this truly be the turning point they needed, or would it deepen the wounds that had long plagued their family? In that silence, everything hung suspended. Her past, Jake's future, the possibility of healing intertwining with the potential for devastation. Jake's words, imbued with passion and determination, cut through her thoughts. He spoke of understanding, connection, and the responsibility that came with inheriting a legacy shrouded in secrecy. Sarah felt pride swell within her, yet dread lurked just beneath the surface. As much as she wanted him to succeed, this was not just about the present. It was intertwined with their family's painful past. Would he recognize the sacrifices she had made? Could he appreciate their shared struggle instead of seeking validation from a man who had abandoned them both? The moment Jake's eyes met hers, she felt an instinct to protect, to shield him from the storm that could erupt if the truth were fully revealed. The shift in his demeanor, the confidence he wore like a mantle, was not lost on her. He stood at the brink of opportunity, embodying all they had fought for. Yet the fear of losing him to this world, a world that had once overshadowed her own aspirations, gnawed at her core. When the presentation concluded, Jake stepped down, exhilarated, the applause echoing in her ears like a distant thunder. He approached her, a spark of excitement in his eyes. "Did you see that? I felt so alive up there." His words reverberated with hope, yet the sincerity of his spirit struck a nerve, a reminder that he was still so young, still unaware of the complexities entwined in his grandfather's shadow. "Jake," Sarah struggled for the right words. "Are you certain this is what you want? You've always had your own dreams." Would he truly want to dive into a legacy steeped in their family's tumult? Or was he simply riding on the thrill of the moment? The poignancy of the question hung heavily between them, threatening the fragile bond they had fought to maintain. "I do, Mom," he replied, earnest and fierce. "But it's about more than that. It's about what comes next. I can still make my own path." Those words struck her like a bolt. Conflicted, she questioned whether she had ever allowed him the freedom to carve his own destiny, or if she had merely shackled him to her vision of what success meant through her eyes. As they walked home in silence, Sarah felt an unfamiliar turmoil within her. Doubts permeated her thoughts. Was she ready to let go of the past and trust Jake's instincts? Shouldn't she be nurturing his ambitions rather than projecting her fears upon him? In the days to follow, Sarah grappled with the internal battle, wrestling with the remnants of her father's legacy alongside her devotion to Jake's aspirations. The journal weighed heavily on her, amid reflections of whether she could trust him to make decisions rooted in their shared experiences. Then, a startling thought gripped her. What if this rediscovery was not just Jake's opportunity, but a calling for her as well? A chance to redefine her own future in tandem with his. That night, she clutched the old journal, a thirst for understanding coursing through her. Page by page, she uncovered layers of her father's life, punctuated by his failures and triumphs. Each revelation resonated within her, hinting at the possibility that perhaps she too had a legacy to forge, a blend of acceptance and personal growth. As the last rays of daylight faded, illuminating her path forward, Sarah realized that the confrontation with her father's past had ignited something dormant within her. She wanted to reclaim her narrative, to shed the mantle of judgment she had carried for too long. Would she seize the opportunity to rise alongside her son, unleashing her own potential in the process? The question lingered ominously in her mind, a precursor to a new chapter awaiting both of them. With determination set in her heart and a newfound clarity in her gaze, the time came for her to face her own fears. She could no longer remain in the shadows. The moment of truth was fast approaching. The morning sun broke through the blinds, casting warm stripes across Sarah's bedroom. It felt like a fresh beginning, though she was acutely aware that it was merely the start of a tumultuous journey. Each beam of light seemed to illuminate not just her surroundings, but also the shadows of doubt that clung to her. Reclaiming her narrative would not be easy, but the taste of determination lingered on her lips. With a shaky breath, she opened her father's journal again, her fingers tracing the familiar pages. The words inked on paper felt like whispers from the past, guiding her to confront the emotions she had always kept contained. She yearned for connection, not just with Jake, but with her own identity, a mosaic of scars and strengths that shaped who she was. Was it time to embrace the parts of herself that she had tucked away in fear? Sarah settled at her kitchen table, a steaming cup of coffee beside her. The journal lay open, revealing entries detailing her father's struggles, his mistakes, and the fleeting moments of hope. While he grappled with personal demons, she noticed echoes of resilience that resonated within her. Each passage brought clarity to her understanding. Her father's failures were not a blueprint, they were lessons carved in the hardness of life, much like the challenges she faced. In that moment she recognized the urgency to evolve. Jake's aspirations should not intimidate her, they should inspire her. Could this be the push she needed to confront the fears that had overshadowed her ambitions? Today, she resolved to explore new possibilities rather than cling to the remnants of her father's legacy which had loomed so large. She reached for her phone, her thumb hovering over the screen as a sudden realization struck her. Why not document her own journey? The idea was both exhilarating and terrifying. What if by sharing her experiences, she could influence not just her own growth, but also strengthen the bond with Jake? It could serve as a testament that both he and she could craft their legacies anew, free from the burdens of the past. She envisioned vlogs that explored her process, revealing her vulnerabilities while encouraging Jake's ongoing ambition. There was a knock on the door. Jake, his energy palpable and ready for another discussion about his plans. Sarah felt a surge of trepidation. How would he respond to her need for growth? What if he rejected this new side of her? With a deep breath, she opened the door and smiled at him. "Hey, do you have a moment? I want to talk about something important." Jake stepped in, curiosity coloring his features. "Sure, Mom. What's up?" As they sat down, Sarah's heart raced. The conversation would be pivotal, not just for Jake, but for herself too. She wanted him to see her purpose evolving alongside his ambition, not merely as a spectator, but as a participant ready to define her trajectory. "Jake," she began cautiously, "I've been thinking a lot about our stories, the paths we take. I want to share mine more openly with you and the world." She could tell he wasn't expecting this revelation, his brows furrowing slightly in thought. "Your path?" he questioned, leaning in. "What do you mean? I think it's time we embrace the strengths from our past while building something new. I want to show you that we can both create our futures together, in our own ways." The words spilled out, raw and unedited, her pulse quickening at the prospect of vulnerability. Jake's expression shifted, curiosity now accompanied by a hint of disbelief. "You really want to do this, Mom?" "I do," she affirmed, her conviction rising. "But it will require both of us to be honest about our fears and ambitions. Are you ready for that?" The air crackled with anticipation as she awaited his response. She felt the momentum building, aware that this was a crucial moment that could redefine not only their relationship, but also their individual journeys toward healing and understanding. And just as the conversation deepened, a notification from her phone buzzed, shattering the moment's intimacy. It was a message containing a video, an old recording of her father speaking passionately about his dreams and failures. The screen flashed before her, a reminder of the shadow looming above them, but also a beacon indicating the confrontation that lay ahead. The question loomed large. What new revelations awaited them in the footage? Were they prepared to face the truths branded into their family's legacy? The journey toward clarity had only just begun. As the video played, Sarah's breath hitched. Her father was on screen, youthful, yet burdened with the weight of his aspirations. His words cascaded out like a stream, fervent yet tinged with the thorn of disappointment. "I wanted to be someone who mattered," he said, his voice echoing through time and space. "But I lost myself along the way. I want my children to know that dreams come with a price, but never to stop pursuing them, regardless of the cost to your pride." The camera cut to Jake, who shifted nervously in his chair. Sarah could see the creases of uncertainty forming on his brow. Did he too feel the weight of expectations resting heavily over him? Was it the fear of failure, or the burden of legacy that loomed larger than the aspirations he held? "Mom?" Jake spoke softly, breaking the spell that had enveloped the room. "Is this what you meant by embracing our past?" In that moment, Sarah realized the depth of connection this video provided. It was not merely a reminder of what had been, but a vital bridge to building what could be. "Yes," she replied, her voice steady despite the quiver of emotion that coursed through her. His struggles remind us that we are allowed to fail, but we must also learn to rise again. Jake studied her, eyes shadowed with contemplation. "So, you want to create a space where we can explore these failures together, through your journey, through our conversations?" "Exactly," Sarah said, the flame of determination lighting in her chest anew. "I want to take everything I've gathered from my father and transform it into something meaningful, something that honors the past but celebrates our futures." His expression softened as he absorbed her words. She could see the wheels turning in his mind, and she felt a strange thrill at the possibility of moving forward together. It was grounding yet exhilarating. They were not just mother and son, but co-authors of their stories. Jake leaned forward, excitement igniting in his gaze. "We could start a blog, maybe even a YouTube channel. We could record our conversations, our victories, our struggles. Mom, we could inspire others to be honest about their paths." Sarah's heart raced with the echo of his enthusiasm. "Yes, I could share my insights, my learnings. It can be a journey for both of us, documenting not just progress but also our setbacks. We could invite others into our space without shame." The prospect sent waves of inspiration coursing through her. But then, an icy grip of doubt turned her excitement brittle. What if their shared vulnerabilities only exposed them to ridicule? What if the world was less forgiving than they hoped? Is this really going to work? She questioned, her voice suddenly apprehensive. What if people are critical? Can we handle that? Jake met her gaze with a serene confidence that resonated deeply, cutting through her self-doubt. Well, we can't please everyone, right? We can only be ourselves, and that's something worth sharing. His willingness to accept the consequence of exposing their truths solidified her resolve. Wouldn't this be the very essence of their journey? A testament to resilience in the face of scrutiny? Just as she began to feel the weight of possibility press down with exhilaration, another notification flashed on her phone. A familiar name flickered on the screen, one that wielded the power to disrupt. It was her mother, reaching out after years of silence. Would this unexpected connection bring resolution, or complicate the reconciliation she was forging with her past? The moment spiked with tension, and she knew she would have to decide how to respond. Would she re-engage with the history she'd fled, or would she stay anchored in the present growth she and Jake had begun to cultivate? The reality loomed. Taking ownership of their stories meant facing everything, past and present. What awaited her in this new confrontation? Sarah's heart raced as she stared at the phone, its screen illuminated with a name that revived a torrent of memories long buried beneath her resolve. She had envisioned a future punctuated by growth and togetherness with Jake. Yet here was a specter from her past, a reminder of the tangled web of emotions she thought she'd unraveled. "Mom?" Jake's voice jolted her from her thoughts. He had noticed her hesitation flicker across her features. "What's wrong?" Swallowing the lump in her throat, she found herself at a crossroads. It's my mom." The words stumbled out, raw and unguarded. After years of silence, she just reached out. Jake leaned back, a sensitive furrow forming on his brow. "What do you want to do?" That question hung precariously, like a balloon filled with anticipation, ready to pop. If she chose to respond, she could unlock a door she'd firmly shut. If she ignored it, would that mean perpetuating the cycle of avoidance she had lived in for so long? Suddenly, their budding dream felt overshadowed by the weight of this unexpected dilemma. "What I want is to step forward with you, to create something meaningful," she replied, her thoughts a scramble. "But can I really do that while grappling with unresolved issues at home?" "But you can't just ignore her," Jake interjected, his voice steady. "Mom, isn't part of this journey about not running from our past?" He was right, of course. Yet the fear of dredging up old disappointments lingered like an unwelcome breeze. Would revisiting her relationship with her mother offer the clarity she sought, or would it shatter the fragile peace she had woven with Jake? "I guess part of me thought I could just leave it behind and focus on what we're building here," she admitted, self-doubt seeping into her tone. "But perhaps that's naive. If I share my struggles, I need to fully own them." As she spoke, something ignited within her, a realization that acknowledging her past was not a sign of weakness, but rather a step towards empowerment. This wasn't just about her. It was a legacy she intended to share with Jake, along with the lessons and truths she had come to understand. Maybe we can talk about it together," she suggested tentatively. "Use this as part of our journey. I can show that it's okay to confront uncomfortable truths." Jake's expression brightened, resonating with her newfound clarity. "Exactly. We can share your story, even the tough parts. That's what makes it authentic. Everyone has complicated relationships, right? If you show yours, it might inspire others to do the same." The prospect of delving into her past alongside her son felt liberating. These conversations could be transformative, not only for themselves but for anyone listening. Embracing that complexity might even connect those same threads of isolation she had felt for so long. But the question remained, was she ready to fully engage with her mother, a figure who had often embodied her most profound disappointments? With determination beginning to supplant her fears, she took a deep breath. "Okay, I'm going to respond. That's the first step, I guess." As she typed a tentative message, her hands trembled slightly. Each letter seemed to pulse with the weight of the decision she was making. This would mark the beginning of responding to her past head-on rather than running from it. This moment felt pivotal, a foundation for both her own redemption and their shared journey. "Mom, please don't forget to keep me in the loop." Jake's voice broke through her fog of concentration, grounding her spirit. "I'm here, every step of the way." Sarah sent the message and let out a breath she hadn't been aware she was holding. The act felt monumental. Still, as they moved toward their future, she sensed an impending challenge. What ripple effects would this decision unleash? Just then, another notification flashed on her phone. Her mother had responded. As Sarah's heart pounded in anticipation, she felt the pulse of destiny in her veins. What would her mother say next, and how drastically would it alter the course of their unfolding narrative? The weight of Sarah's decision hung in the air like a storm cloud, and she felt it cut through the momentary calm that had followed her initial message. Ignoring the notification's glow for a moment, she focused inward. What did this all mean for her? The notion that she could redefine her relationship with her mother flickered like a candle in an unpredictable wind. With Jake by her side, she could feel the anticipation radiating from him as he peered at her, eager yet patient, his excitement coupled with genuine concern. It struck her how their journey together was more than just about overcoming her past. It was a chance for her to embrace her own complexities openly with someone she trusted. "Take your time," Jake encouraged gently, sensing her hesitation. Her heart drummed steadily, each beat a reminder of her promise to herself. This was about stepping forward, not backward. She glanced down at her phone again. The read receipt had been activated. Her mother had seen the message. What was she thinking? "Mom, what do you want?" The question reverberated in her mind. Was it closure, reconciliation, or something entirely different? Sarah's previous reluctance shifted, morphing into curiosity. This was a cycle she could alter or transcend. Taking a breath, she finally opened the message. The words scrolled down the screen, crisp and deliberate, stirring a tornado of emotions within her. Her mother expressed regret, apologies for past mistakes, and an eagerness to reconnect. Yet within those lines also lurked vague insinuations. The words, "I'm here for you now," carried an undertone she couldn't fully grasp. "What did she say?" Jake asked, leaning closer, a mix of eagerness and fear lining his features. "She wants to reconnect," Sarah replied slowly, unsure how to encapsulate her whirlwind of thoughts. "Is that good?" he pressed. "That's complicated." Complicated. The term danced through her head like a defiant ghost, teasing her with its implications. As much as the prospect felt liberating, she could sense the persistence of unresolved pain lurking just beneath the surface. Jake remained silent, allowing the weight of the moment to settle. Despite their bond growing stronger, that shared silence reminded Sarah of the uncertainty lingering between them. Could she be completely honest with Jake if she didn't even understand her own feelings? "Maybe I should let her back in," Sarah murmured. "But what if it just opens old wounds?" Jake frowned slightly. "But it's your decision. You can always set boundaries, right?" His words were both an anchor and a challenge. The idea of asserting control over what had once been chaos was empowering. She could approach this interaction from a place of strength. It was not about appeasing her mother, but about owning her own narrative. Taking another deep breath, she began typing a response. The words flowed with newfound resolve. "I'm open to hearing from you, but we need to take this slow. There's a lot we need to talk about." As she sent the message, a flicker of apprehension washed over her, intertwining tightly with a sense of empowerment. This was her moment of control. Yet Jake's hand over hers sent warmth through her. He was her steady ground even as the realization set in that she was stepping into unpredictable territory. Before they could digest what had just unfolded, her phone chimed again. Another notification from her mother. It was a video message. Should I open it? She hesitated, a mixture of fear and curiosity swarming. "Yes, let's see where this leads," Jake replied, his voice calm yet steadying. Sarah nodded, her pulse quickening. This was no ordinary exchange. Whatever her mother had to reveal could change everything. As she pressed play, a wave of emotional tumult surged through her. What revelations awaited her on the screen? Would this be the breakthrough she needed, or another heartache wrapped in uncertainty? The answer loomed before her, aching with potential and promise. And as the video began to unfold, she realized her exploration had only just begun. The video flickered to life, casting a soft light in the dim room, illuminating the anxiety etched on Sarah's face. She barely registered the first words tumbling from her mother's mouth. The emotional gravity of the moment anchored her in place, as if the mere act of witnessing the past was ripping open old scars. "Sarah, I know I've made mistakes," her mother began, voice shaky yet resolute. "But I've spent a lot of time thinking about our relationship." Each syllable seemed to pierce through her defenses, a combination of desperation and sincerity that filled the air with an unsettling weight. The familiarity of her mother's voice rekindled long-buried memories. echoes of laughter shared, moments marred by disappointment, the warmth of a hug tainted by absence. She wanted to pull away, to shield herself from the nostalgia that clawed at her resolve, but instead she found herself drawn in. "I know I can't erase the past," her mother continued, "but I've changed." It was a pivotal claim, one that demanded scrutiny. A part of Sarah longed to believe it, to feel the comfort of familial bond again, yet skepticism crept in, tethered to the pain of betrayal. What does she expect me to do? Sarah thought, the question spiraling within her like a restless storm. It felt cruel to dismiss an olive branch before fully grasping its implications. But trusting too easily had always led her to heartache. The video shifted, illuminating her mother's face with a glow of earnestness. "I want to be part of your life, but I understand if that might not be what you want. Just know that I am here." Letting her guard down would mean opening the door to complexity she wasn't sure she could navigate. Yet the image of emancipation teased her, releasing herself from the grip of her childhood. What if this was the catalyst for healing? The promise of a new narrative hung tantalizingly close. But could she trust it? Jake's presence felt electric beside her, a grounding force amid the whirlwind. "You okay?" he asked softly, almost as if he could sense the transformation surging through her psyche. "I don't know," Sarah admitted, her voice a whisper. The weight of indecision loomed, a tumultuous mix of hope and fear. "Whatever you choose, I'm here." "You've got this," Jake reassured, his grip affirming her ability to take control. His unwavering support provided a flicker of determination that urged her to confront her uncertainties rather than retreat. Baseless fears had shackled her in the past. What if she could deconstruct them now, rebuild them into something powerful? The realization that she held the ability to shape her future was both thrilling and terrifying. This newfound agency beckoned. She could choose the depth of this journey. The video continued, allowing her mother to express her feelings, laying bare a vulnerability that hadn't existed before. "I'm putting my heart on the line, and I hope you'll think about moving forward together." The conflict twisted violently within Sarah as she weighed the request. Was it a step toward healing, or a trap laden with emotional rerouting? She paused the video, letting her thoughts wander. A sudden surge of clarity ignited within her, illuminating the strategy built on boundaries Jake had encouraged. She wouldn't dive in blindly. She would approach her mother with eyes wide open, equipped with armor forged from lessons learned in the past. "I need to think. This is going to take some time," she whispered, her heart still racing. She nodded to Jake, aware they were about to forge a path that mattered deeply. This was her journey, but she didn't have to traverse it alone. With a newfound resolve, she exited the video and opened a blank message. Each keystroke brought her closer to a decision that would undoubtedly shape her identity moving forward. But just as she began to articulate her thoughts, another message notification popped up on her screen. Yet another from her mother, more urgent than the last. "What now?" she murmured, voice barely above a whisper, as a wave of curiosity and apprehension washed over her. As she readied to dive into the next revelation, she realized this could alter everything once again. Would this message provide clarity or deepen the chasm of confusion? The uncertainty loomed large, and the weight of the next decision settled heavily on her shoulders. The screen illuminated once more, and Sarah hesitated, heart pounding with anticipation. The message previewed an emotional urgency that pulled her deeper into the swirling storm of her thoughts. With a final gulp, she opened the message. "Sarah, I need you to know something important. It may change the way you feel about everything," her mother typed, each word heavy with implications. It felt like a confession laced with both dread and hope, stirring a mix of excitement and apprehension within her. What could possibly be so critical that it narrowly ventured into the territory of the monumental? Taking a deep breath, she allowed the words to sink in. They felt alive, pulsating with the potential to alter her path significantly. What if this revelation was not just another excuse layered in guilt, but something genuine, a kernel of truth that could reshape her understanding? The prospect of peeling back the layers captivated her. Before diving into that message fully, Sarah turned to Jake, seeking grounding in his calm and steady presence beside her. "What if it's something I truly don't want to know?" Jake's eyes bore into hers with unwavering support. "Knowledge is power, Sarah. You can't control its impact, but you can control how you respond. Whatever it is, you'll face it together." His words bolstered her courage, igniting a flame of resolve within. No more running, no more shying away from truths. For too long she had allowed silence and avoidance to dictate her narrative. Now she needed to confront the impending reality head-on. With conviction, she pressed on and opened the message fully. "I wasn't the only one who made mistakes. There's something you need to know about your father," her mother continued, clearly trembling as her fear leaked through the screen. "It's been hidden for years, and I didn't have the courage to tell you. But before we can move forward, you deserve to hear it." A shiver ran down Sarah's spine. The mention of her father had always been a minefield, littered with memories of emotional detachment and the shattered image of a man she had idealized from afar. What could possibly be so devastating? Did it extend to the fractured relationship with her mother, or was it something unique to him? Sarah's mind raced, calculating the threads interwoven in her life's tapestry. This could be the hidden catalyst behind many of her mother's actions over the years. Unraveling this secret might shed light on her past, potentially weaving together the numerous loose ends she had tried to ignore. "What if this is the key?" she whispered, the thought startling yet exhilarating. A door might be swinging open to a truth she had long been denied. Jake leaned closer, noticing her shifting emotions. "Are you okay?" "Terrified and curious," she admitted, the dichotomy propelling her into action. What lay behind her mother's cryptic words could offer healing or plunge her into deeper turmoil. Taking a breath, she dared to press deeper. "What does this mean for us?" she typed back hastily, heart racing as she waited for an answer. The pulse of uncertainty remained thick in the air, but she refused to buckle. Her mother's past held the potential to illuminate her future, and regardless of where this led her, she was in control. As the dots flickered on the screen, indicating her mother was typing again, Sarah felt a mixture of anxiety and exhilaration. The moment was pulsating with the potential to reshape her identity completely. Then the message pinged into existence. "I can explain everything. You need to come home." The invitation hung in the air, echoing like a beckoning call to a place both familiar and fraught with unresolved tension. Would she rise to the occasion, or remain safely in her carefully crafted routine? The decision loomed ahead, tempting her with the promise of clarity, but threatening to unravel all she had built. Would this be the moment she redefined her relationship with her family, or would it mark an unearthing of buried chaos? With a steadying inhale, Sarah braced herself, understanding that the answer might mean stepping into uncharted territory. This confrontation had the potential to transform not just her relationship with her mother, but the very understanding of herself. And that was the crux. Was she ready for the truths that could awaken or dismantle everything she thought she knew? The urgency of the moment pressed down upon her as she prepared to navigate the layers of her complicated history. The journey to reclaim her narrative was firmly in sight. All it required was the courage to walk through the door that loomed ahead. The air around Sarah felt electrified, a palpable tension that danced through her limbs as she weighed her next moves. Time seemed to distort, expanding and contracting, making the moment feel simultaneously monumental and suffocating. She stared at the screen, her mind racing with scenarios and theories about what could lie behind her mother's cryptic words. "Need to come home." The phrase lingered, echoing with the weight of an unspoken past. "What do I do?" The thought spiraled in her mind like a persistent whisper, demanding to be answered. This was no longer just a message, it was a crossroads shaping her identity and future. Jake, still present beside her, exuded an air of patience that made her feel anchored. "You don't have to decide right now," he said gently, his voice a grounding force amidst the tempest of her thoughts. But she felt the urgency clawing at her. This was not merely about her past, it was about reclaiming her narrative, seizing her destiny. "I can't avoid this forever," she murmured, more to herself than to him. The realization hit her like a thunderclap. Her mother's past, the secrets, the hidden emotions, they were all part of Sarah herself. In many ways, she had lived in the shadow of her incompletely understood family dynamic, drifting through life like a ghost of her potential. Discovering the truth could either illuminate her path or pitch her into a deeper labyrinth of struggle. As the twilight deepened outside the window, Sarah wrestled with her fear of upheaval against the yearning for clarity. She was driven to confront whatever shadows lurked within her family's history, to understand not just her parents' choices, but the impact those choices had on her existence. "Are you okay?" Jake asked again, concern threading through his voice as he reached out, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. She inhaled sharply, buoyed by his presence. "No, but I will be." The admission cultivated a flicker of resolve within her. This was less about being ready and more about embracing the unknown with open arms. In that moment, the resolve simmered, igniting a decision. With a newfound determination, Sarah typed back a response. "I'll come home. I need to hear it all." Feeling the rush of commitment, she pressed send. The act felt momentous, a claim of her autonomy wrapped in uncertainty. The thought of her mother's potential revelations loomed large, sending spirals of anticipation tumbling within her. Yet, with the words dispatched into the digital ether, another wave of anxiety washed over her. Would she find forgiveness or chaos? Would the explanation come with deeper wounds or pathways to healing? Jake squeezed her shoulder gently, an affirmation that she wouldn't be alone in this journey. "You're making a brave choice, Sarah. Whatever it is, keep your heart open." In that moment, she acknowledged how much control she wielded over her response to pain and uncertainty. It wasn't merely about confronting family secrets. It was about claiming her emotional narrative. The feeling of agency thrilled her, reigniting the courageous spark she'd thought she'd lost. As the sun dipped below the horizon, shadows deepened around her. Sarah resolved to confront the complexities ahead, to navigate the treacherous waters her family had prepared for her. What had felt like a riptide of fear now transformed into an understanding of its potential for growth. Yet doubt still lingered at the edges, whispering of the possible upheaval. Would she really be able to forgive her mother for years of silence? For the burden of forgotten truths? The unanswered questions breathed life into her determination, igniting a sense of adventure in the face of fear. This was her chance to redefine boundaries, to reshape her self-worth beyond the whispers of the past. With every heartbeat resonating with the certainty of purpose, Sarah felt ready to dive into the unknown. Would she emerge transformed, or would the revelations burden her more than she imagined? Even as she steeled herself for the confrontation at home, little did she know that the road ahead was laden with challenges that would necessitate far more than just a personal discovery. It would demand a reckoning with the deepest chambers of her heart. The time was rapidly approaching for a moment of truth, one that would echo long after the words were spoken. And as she prepared for the journey back home, she was left wondering one thing: what would she discover about herself in the process? The evening air was thick with anticipation as Sarah prepared for her return home. The journey had once seemed daunting, yet now it pulsated with promise and the possibility of resolution. Each step toward her childhood home felt tethered to her unfolding narrative, a crucial chapter dedicated to reclaiming her identity. She reflected on the lasting impact of her mother's message, aware that the truth would not only transform their relationship, but also illuminate the shadows in which she had long been lost. With every mile traveled, Sarah's resolve solidified. She had chosen to confront her fears, recognizing that understanding her family's past was essential to fostering her own future. As they drove, Jake sat beside her, an anchor of support, sharing nervous glances that reinforced their partnership. "I'm proud of you for doing this, Mom," he said softly, his voice imbued with calmness. "Just remember, this isn't just about the past. It's about shaping the future." His words spurred her focus. She was ready, not just to listen, but to actively engage in a dialogue that would redefine the parameters of their relationship and strengthen their shared journey. Sarah had learned so much from her own life, and it was time to earnestly share her story and potentially write a new one with her mother. Upon arriving, Sarah's pulse quickened. The home that once felt unwelcoming now stood as a canvas waiting for strokes of reconciliation and healing. A cacophony of memories whirled around her, echoes of laughter, shadows of disappointment, the bittersweet taste of what could have been. She inhaled deeply before stepping onto the threshold. The door creaked open, revealing the familiar warmth yet tinged with the imprints of a year-long absence. Her mother awaited her, an unexpected mix of vulnerability and hope dancing across her features. "Sarah," her mother breathed, an emotional tremor in her voice. "Thank you for coming." "Let's talk," Sarah replied, her tone firm yet inviting, echoing her newfound resolve. This was a chance to reclaim her narrative, and she wouldn't let it slip away. They settled in the living room, the air thick with unspoken emotions. As they sat, Sarah's heart raced with anticipation and trepidation. With every inch she moved forward, invisible chains of hurt began to loosen. Her mother opened the conversation, recounting her experiences and regrets. Her voice quivered as she detailed years of silence and reflection. "I made mistakes, Sarah. I was afraid. Of failing, of hurting you. I thought leading a separate life was best for everyone." As those words spilled forth, Sarah felt compassion pierce through her initial defenses. Each confession was like a domino falling, shaping an architecture of understanding they could rebuild together. "Why didn't you tell me about Dad?" The question bubbled forth, the fear of a lingering past mingling with hope for a renewed connection. She sought clarity on the fragments of their history, wanting to understand how it impacted her present. Her mother's eyes filled with tears, and she recounted the painful truth she had hoped to shield Sarah from. Her father's own demons, the choices that had shaped their family, and the silent promises she had made to herself to protect her daughter from further pain. "You were my priority, but I thought that avoiding the truth would spare you," she confessed, a raw honesty that reverberated through the room like a rush of revitalizing air. As her mother spoke, Sarah felt herself transforming. Each revelation cast aside layers of betrayal, inviting warmth into the conversation. The years of resentment began to dissolve, and there was space for healing to take root. "Mom, I needed to know all of this before. I had to understand who I was, why we were estranged," she replied, her voice steady with newfound clarity. "But moving forward means acknowledging the mistakes and letting go of the past." In that moment, the air shifted, filled not with blame, but with the possibility of forgiveness, an acknowledgement of their shared humanity. The dialogue that followed was fruitful, ranging from tears to laughter, sparking deep realizations and insights. Sarah recognized that her journey wasn't merely about reconciling with her mother, but also reclaiming her power to navigate her own life. By confronting the past, she unlocked doors to her resilience. As they hashed out their emotions, something within Sarah solidified. She had come to understand that healing involves vulnerability and openness, revealing her authentic self while embracing her daughter's role in the process. It wasn't just about confronting her mother. It was about embarking on this journey together. "Let's carve out a new narrative, together," she declared, feeling a surge of empowerment resonate through her. With the shadows of the past behind them, they began laying foundations for their future, a blend of support, honesty, and mutual respect. Their conversations morphed from past grievances to shared aspirations, a flourishing of possibility that excited them both. The transformation Sarah experienced wasn't solitary. With her mother revitalized by accountability and clarity, a new bond gradually emerged, one that brought hope and renewal. For the first time, Sarah felt entirely in charge of her narrative, a voice of determination guiding the way forward. In the days ahead, Sarah would nurture her flourishing relationship with her mother while encouraging Jake's ambitions. They would document their journeys, sharing the realities of life, fostering growth, and inspiring others through their experiences. Sarah had finally reclaimed her story, not only as the woman she was today, but as a mother paving the way for her son and her mother to thrive. With each step forward, she felt the weight of her past transform into strength, emerging with an unshakable confidence and recognized competence. Together, they would rewrite their legacies, illuminating the path to healing and growth, a testament to resilience and the power of connection. This was her moment of triumph, the culmination of her journey toward healing, in which she achieved something eternally fulfilling, a renewed narrative crafted with every ounce of grace and strength she possessed. Now, as you reflect on this powerful conclusion, don't wait even one more second to share this compelling journey. You need to subscribe to the channel, now to stay inspired by more exclusive emotional stories that resonate deeply. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and spread these transformative narratives that inspire overcoming challenges. Comment below your reactions and theories about their journey, and share your thoughts on their growth. Finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this magnificent conclusion. Let's help others reclaim their truths and pave their paths to empowerment.